Now I can tell you in Brazil, in Jacobina, it is always sunny. So, but let's get started with Jacobina. Bahia State, over in Brazil, 350 kilometers away from Salvador, over on the coast on the east. Yeah, we look at the regional story of Jacobina, and it's a paleoplacer deposit. So imagine 3 billion years ago, there was big streams and there was a big deposit over to the east, and that was eroding down, and this gold was coming down through the streams and it was depositing. So then that all got, over billions of years, sunk, cooked, tectonically overturned, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden we have the Jacobina Cerro de Corrigo formation, which houses all of our gold, and that's free gold. In these conglomerate packages, we call them reefs, and they stretch over 155 kilometers, where we have 60,000 hectares staked, and Jacobina mine sits here, and so all the way up across this we call the Jacobina region, and we are doing exploration there at the moment. We've got some projects going. We've done some drilling last year, and we continue to try and advance some of those projects in that north of the Jacobina mine. And it's worth mentioning that the pink here is the basement rock, and everything dipping to the east. So again, we're going to look at the red are these conglomerate packages that house all the gold in the matrix. So it's all free gold, essentially. Jacobina is slightly different from the other paleoplacers in the world. There's been a lot of hydrothermal and intrusive events. There's been a lot of remobilization of that gold, which does make it slightly more complex than others over in South Africa. But the green here is these intrusives I just mentioned made it more complex. And really we're looking at 7 to 8 mining zones across a 10-kilometer stretch. And all of this is connected underground. So we're going to show you that in a minute. Here we have the concessions in yellow. We've got the basement rock at the back. These are all of our different deposits, different mining zones, Canaveras over in the north, Jabal Sul in the south. Here we have the modeled reefs, which are these conglomerates, which houses all the gold. We're going to give that, as I mentioned, 10 kilometers. Canaveras is really the higher grade zone that we have and has been mined successfully over the years. And when we look at over the years, I think it was in 1982 it started producing. I mean, this whole region has been mined since the 17th century with artisanal miners, etc. And we've had 1.4 million meters of drilling on this over this 10 kilometers, and we continue to find and continue to expand the resources, which is quite incredible. So let's we are looking west here. And we're going to show you, here's all the infrastructure, over 400 kilometers. It's all connected underground. And we still retain a large resource base of nearly 8 million and proven and probable 3 million ounces of gold. And really it's been success through the drill bit. And I'm just going to freeze it here. And literally, over from the 80s, you had Anglo-American, you had the Williams, and then Yamana took it over in 2006. And really, they started to ramp up this drilling and started to expand the resource here and the production. And it's the real game changer here in terms of what those guys did. And certainly, we produce nearly 190,000 ounces of gold, and we continue to just constantly find additional mineralization within these conglomerates, down dip, infill drilling. So Morro do Vento, we released in December 25. We were just drilling up and around, filling in different areas of that resource, and certainly came up with some very nice results, which is going to add in the mid-year, sort of grades of 5 meters at 3.75, including 1.9 at 8.52. 9 meters at 3.39 grams a ton gold. So some really nice results, and this is all infill drilling above, closer to surface, which is good, because certainly the mine deepens. And this is all open at depth. These conglomerate packages just go down and down. So yeah, that's certainly something for the future and a future target. With these reefs, we do call them stacked because we do have multiple reefs. So that it certainly gives us the advantage of doing that bulk mining to get the tons out, which Steve is going to talk to more. Jacobina Sul, certainly in 2000, when we came in and started working with the operation, Jacobina Sul was just being drilled, and we brought that into resource. And certainly some of the results, again, 3.68 at 4.95 grams gold, 7 meters at 3.42 grams gold. This is just the drilling from that infill drilling and converting inferred into measured and indicated resources. And as mentioned, open, down dip, and in localized areas where these reefs are, we've got access coming across to Jacobina Sul, which will bring that into production in the coming years. And again, you got the basement rock over to the west. North is to the right, and we continue to just infill. And certainly between Jacobina North and South, we're infilling and bringing in more resources. So certainly, and again in December, we mentioned the Maracota exploration discovery. That's been several years now. We put in 800,000 ounces of new inferred resource in the mid-year 2025. That sits on the western limb or western portion of the conglomerates. Canaveral sits in front of it. And that, as mentioned, that's the higher grade. And the good and the positive that we've seen is that Maracota is starting to give us that higher grade that could replace the Canaveras. So we've stripped away Canaveras. We're looking west, and I'm just going to go through that cycle of the Maracota and how it has come to having 800,000 ounces of gold in inferred resource, and that constant infill drilling, which adds to the confidence of these deposits. So we've had around 60,000 meters of drilling in total at the moment. We're going to take you back. This is, we had around 10,000 meters between 75 and 2021. Some historic holes sitting over here to the north. And then 23 program came in, 12,000, increasing the confidence. And the 24, again, bringing in additional 4 meters at 4 grams gold over there. And it's just adding confidence to these conglomerate packages, which then increases the classification. And then December 25, we came out with some more results, which we got 4 meters at 7 grams gold in that infill drill hole sitting there. And so Maracota has been a success story. It's a new deposit that we found, and as we now look to the exploration for the next deposit, we will certainly be targeting the northern portion of Maracota going into Lagatixa, which we're going to show you now. Here's just an example of one of those cross sections, the drilling, the red of these conglomerates, and how we start to infill and bring up confidence of the content of gold sitting there. That's the program for 2026. Projection still open at depth. And really it's this northern portion where Lagatixa sits. And we've released results again in December 25, which shows at least a couple of kilometers further north on the western side. We also have the Canaveras extension north, which is on the eastern side of these conglomerates. And there's some artisanal miners mining over here, even further north. So that gives us certainly some confidence that gold sits within these conglomerate packages. Some of the results that we released, as I mentioned in December, and really Jacobina is, as we've mentioned, a fantastic deposit and built for success.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve Busby. As Michael indicated, I'm part of that elite group that was here for 23 years. 17 of my years, I was Chief Operating Officer with the company, and I had the fortune to turn over the Chief Operating Officer to Scott Campbell, as he mentioned earlier, in October of last year. And Scott has done a marvelous job of structuring this company for the next generation. This company is going to be around for quite a long time. You see a lot of young faces here, a lot of highly talented people, and it's really a pleasure to be part of this group and be part of the successes that we've seen. I've been very privileged. I've been given a new assignment as a special advisor to the company, and that allows me to do the things I love, the things I really love about this industry, working on new projects, working with accomplished teams at many of our sites and looking at the future, strategizing how we're going to take these assets to the next generation. As Sam and Ignacio mentioned, when we acquired Jacobina, really Jacobina was the attraction to that acquisition. This is a long-term, multi-generational asset with lots of upside. And as you saw, Jacobina did a marvelous job, successful job of expanding production there. When we got our feet on the ground at Jacobina, we really started to sense there's even more value at Jacobina to look at this in terms of an optimization. How do we optimize, the mining, the processing, the infrastructure, the community relations, the government relations? How do we optimize all aspects of this operation and capture the most value we can? So we wanted to kind of step back, cool our jets, if you will, on expansion for today, look at how we can secure longer mine life at this operation, really bring in efficiencies to this operation, and then also later down the road start to bring additional expansions into this operation. That's what we call the Jacobina optimization study. And we launched into that study soon after acquisition. We've been working very hard at looking at all aspects of this operation. And certain projects start to fall out as we do that. And that's what we suspect is going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to see a number of projects fall out of this optimization. And the first one's going to be a filter plant and a tailing stack facility. We do see a limitation to conventional tailings handling at the site. We're probably by the mid-2030s, we're going to be out of conventional tailings capacity. And given the topographic constraints, the land constraints, dealing with the communities in and around the operation, we really see an opportunity to bring tailings filtration, which we're quite familiar with, into this operation, go to a stacking facility, which opens up a vast life, if you will, for future tailings. Secondly, supplemental to that and complementary to the filter plant is going to a paste backfill underground. We're seeing limitations with open stope mining without backfill, which is the way historically it's been mined at Jacobina from day one. And we really want to stabilize the mining. We really want to go, you saw Chris showed opportunities at depth. In order to access that depth, we really need to secure the stope areas we're mining, and paste backfill will bring that to us. Paste backfill also, if you notice, there's a significant amount of gold ounces contained in measured and indicated resources that didn't make reserves. And a lot of that is coupled with this open stope mining method. Using paste backfill for the same primary developments we do for our current mining, we'll be able to access much more resource mining, much more reserve and production coming from the same development. So it brings a lot of efficiencies. It's complementary to the filter plant. That's kind of the second projects. These projects are moving from conceptual engineering through basic engineering. At the completion of basic engineering late this year, we'll come out with the details of those projects. What's the capital? What's the return rate on those projects? And we'll launch into those projects. Over and above all that, we see tremendous opportunities in the process plant. This plant was built 50 years ago, and it's been expanded tremendously through the years. And through those expansions, there's a number of obsolete equipment sitting in and around the current plant footprint. And we want to kind of find a way to modernize, streamline the circuitry. We see significant opportunities when you look at today's technology for processing gold-rich ores like Jacobina, free milling ores, if you will. We see tremendous opportunities to go into that plant, make some significant investments in modernizing and removing a lot of the obsolete equipment that's currently in the way of the operation there. That'll drive some cost efficiencies that'll offset the cost of filtering and paste backfill. And it'll also bring us higher gold recoveries in the long term. We see the ability to get above 96% gold recovery by improving those efficiencies. After we get all that done, now we can really start to talk about expansion in an opportunistic way where we're capturing optimally all the value that we can from this very, very interesting large resource that we have here. Oh, sorry, I missed the slide. Yeah, so during 2026, we're estimating an expenditure for this growth projects, for these optimization projects, between $53 to $57 million. This is over and above the sustaining capital estimate that we put out for the operation of $67 to $70 million. And we divide up what we're doing in 26 into both studies. We got about $10 million of studies that we're doing this year, which is that plant optimization, kind of conceptual engineering and layout work. We're working on how can we sequence construction to upgrade and modernize that plant. The filtration plant and the paste plant, as I mentioned, we moved through conceptual engineering. We're deep into basic engineering, and we're just finalizing those projects. We have some power increases that we foresee in the future. The power supply has been a little bit weak from our perspective. We do get power bumps, particularly during the rainy season that disrupts our operations. So we've been working with the power supply companies to upgrade our power sources and give us much more stable, reliable power into the future. So about $10 million on studies. All the while, we're spending about $57 to $60 million on projects this year, some of which is upgrading some of the work that Yamana had started in the leaching and carbon and pulp circuits. We need to get those stabilized in the near term, and we're spending some money in there. The exploration that Chris showed us, we're seeing fabulous results in exploration. We keep pushing that. We have increased development rates. We do have a permit today that'll take us up to 10,000 tons per day production capacity. We're currently running about 8,500 tons a day. So we see an opportunity once we get the filtration plant running, the paste plant running, some of these optimization projects completed, we can take that up to the permitted level of 10,000 tons a day and continue those studies that then will lead to a permitting effort to look at future expansions beyond that in the next decade or two. So really the overall study of optimization of Jacobina is an ongoing effort to capture all the value we can of this operation. First and foremost, looking at extending its life. This thing's going to be around for multi-generations, and we want to be sure it's capable of doing that in a clean and responsible way. We want to improve the efficiencies of the operations, and really look to offset the cost increases we're going to apply with the filter plant and the paste fill plant. Capture more of the reserve production or reserve recovery, and increase the ultimate recovery that we expect to get through the plant, and then ultimately bring the expansion to this great operation that we have at Jacobina.